Now the introduction. I'm very happy to have Steve Kaplan here, world famous teacher for comedy writing. Thank you, Steve, that you come from my improvised studio here in Chicago. What is it what we can learn from classical playwriters like Shakespeare?
Well, the other thing that Shakespeare can tell you is that Shakespeare's a great example of somebody who tried to excel at both forms of comedy. He had elements of what they used to call the university wits, comedy of witticisms and wordplay, but he was also deeply influenced by the commedia dell'arte. In the 15th and 16th, the 1500s and 1600s, there were already Italian actors, Italian comedians in England, and because they didn't speak English and the English audiences didn't speak Italian, they did what was called Italian nights, in which these Italian actors performed their scenarios in pantomime. They later came to be known as the pantos, and Chaplin was one of the great panto performers in Carnot's panto troupe. But that's way after Shakespeare. Shakespeare's clowns are patterned after popular commedia clowns of his day. So when you see a Shakespeare play where people are, passing quips back and forth and doing wordplay, that's the influence of the university wits, the literate comedy. But when you see in Shakespeare Lancelot Gobbo, where he's talking to his dog and the dog is farting, that's the commedia. Those are the clowns.
Maybe is improv a modern way to learn something about comedy?
Yeah, I would think that for a writer, there are two really valuable ways to hone your craft. Short of getting your work produced and seeing what audiences say about it, but you can either, it's important to have your work read out loud. Comedies don't exist except in the mouths of actors, heard by the ears of audiences. But also, I think it's very valuable for writers, even if you have no interest in performing, to learn improv, to practice improv, because improvisation is a way to let you exist in the body and the mind and the heart and the mouth of an actor, of a character. So to learn how to see through the eyes of a character, to learn how to speak through the mouth of a character, it's invaluable experience for a comedy writer to have that experience. A lot of comedy writers come out of stand-up comedy. They come out of some form of performance, because it's one thing to write comic scripts, it's another thing to have the experience about the interaction, the negotiation between comedian and audience. Okay. I mean, that's where the Greeks started. It's, in Greek drama, you had one actor, the protagonist, and in a comedy, the protagonist would come out and he would talk directly to the audience. And in fact, there was a part written into every Greek comedy, and we're talking, the old comedy, the ancient Greek comedy, where the protagonist and the chorus would come out and completely forget about the play. They wouldn't talk, whatever the play was talking about, they would just basically forget it, come out and talk to the audience about whatever was going on in town. Mm-hmm. So they were inventing stand-up comedy 3,000 years ago.
Do you have an idea for a daily exercise comedy writers should do?
I think you have to keep your eye out for the human moment. Keep your eye out for the imbalance in life, and rather than make excuses for it or overlook it. You have to learn to appreciate it. Learn to appreciate the, the kind of the imbalance and irony of everyday life.
Can comedy and comedians help to make the world better?
Well, there have been comedians there for 3,000 years. I don't know that they've made the world better. They've certainly made living in some bad parts of the world more bearable. Shalom Aleichem, who was a Yiddish humorist, used to say that the world was a pimple on top of an abscess, on top of something else, terrible, some ulcer. And he said, just for spite, we're going to have comedy. Just to spite them, we'll make laughter. Some people would say that, if not for laughter, they'd go crazy. You can either laugh, if you take a close look at the world, you either have to laugh or cry. And since you can't drive very well crying all the time, you might as well be laughing.
When did you find humor and comedy as a way for you to earn your money?
Well, I found comedy well before I had a way to earn my money. I mean, I was kind of in the Ray Romano school. As a kid, I was one of those nerdy kids that used to be chased home after school and beaten up. So I learned to do two things. I learned to run really quickly, and I learned to be funny, because I figured if they caught me, at least I can make them laugh. And if I make them laugh, maybe they won't beat me up so badly. And then when I was a young person, just out of college really, a couple of actor friends of mine got together and said, we want to start a theater company in New York, and we want you to come in with us. And I thought, when I have a chance to do a theater company, I wanted to do a theater completely devoted to comedy. So that's what I did. So we started a theater called Manhattan Punchline, and a lot of great people came out of it. Writers like David Crane, who did Friends, Howard Corder, who's now on Boardwalk Empire, Steve Skrovan, who's an executive producer of Everybody Loves Raymond. So a lot of great people came out of it. And that's how I started thinking and talking about comedy. And when I started it in the arrogance of youth, I thought, I know everything there is to know about comedy. And after doing it for a little while, I thought, okay, I don't know everything there is to know about comedy, but I know what's not funny, goddammit. And then I realized, I don't know how this stuff works. Why is something funny on Thursday but not funny on Sunday? So I started to kind of explore in a really serious way what comedy is, how it works, why it works, and more importantly, what's going on when it's not working, and how can you fix it.
Is there still a scene in comedy which makes you still laughing?
The movies that I still find funny are basically the Python movies that never fail to amuse me. Holy Grail, the French Knights, who are those wonderful insults, but also The Life of Brian. One of the scenes that I love in The Life of Brian is all the women are dressed up like men because only men can stone somebody, and so you have all these women pretending to be men because they want to give a chance to stone somebody, and you have John Cleese as this very officious Roman official going, well, you only can stone let he who is without sin cast the first stone, and they all start throwing rocks. The Pythons make me laugh, and my favorite moment in all of movies is that moment in which Eric Idle starts to sing the song at the end of Life of Brian. Always look on the bright side of life. And so one time at the end of my seminar, I'm going to sing Always Look on the Bright Side of Life. I can't tell you that it was terrible, but it's still one of my favorite moments in movies.
Okay, then I wish you the bright sides of life.
Thank you.
For your whole life. Thank you very much for being guest in this improvised studio.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to your next seminar, maybe in Europe.
Oh, great. Yeah.
That would be great. Thank you very, very much, Steve Kaplan.
Thanks, Harald.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.